Hello, presento, share screeno, boop. Dost thouest wanteth to knoweth the processeth of the thumbnaileth? Thouest will telleth thouest. Got 2 done so far. I want to get to 8. And I can't get distracted by the chat. No, I'll be reading the chat. I'll see if it even goes for an hour. It might go fast. Sometimes it goes slow. But I was doing 2, and sometimes going live can motivate you a little more, and then it also distracts you. But so look at those scribbles. I tell you something though. I read a comic once, and it was all thumbnails, and the story was magnificent, and I was like, this is oddly, in a weird comic kind of way, this is better because I'm using my imagination even more to translate the thumbnails, but then I'm totally following the story, and it was a great story. I was like, interesting. You can really get it's almost like, yes, a stick figure comic could be good, but in that case it's beyond stick figures because it's even more abstract and weird because you're kind of trying to draw whatever. One of the things I do, I've just been drawing, sometimes I'll draw a circle to represent the head, sometimes something to represent the shoulders, and then in the middle of the circle I write the first letter of the name of the character, and then I got to go back and figure out what this looks. Oh, it's just because it's so small that I was like, it looks soft. So yeah. So what did I even say here? I hope you were. Oh, that's Blogart's line. So I have to cross-reference it with the script to even know who that is. So the thumbnails mean nothing unless you also have the script. But that's kind of what I've been doing. And I have to do that when I eventually go to draw it. I have to kind of do that too. But I might, since we're here, I'll write BL for Blogart. Because there might be other people with a B first name. So I'll put Blogart. This is a random people eating. This is a big dinner scene, but not SJW style. So many scribbles. But it'll make more sense when I start blank, then you guys can follow. And it might. Let me see what everyone's saying. Val says, Hill, this is super interesting. I'm not at home though, so I'll have to rewatch. So watching this is a must. Val Schnitz. Thanks, Val Schnitz. What book is this? Would be awesome to see how you turn a script to a thumbnail page. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of doing. I'm going to do here. I'm going to try and do my thought process out loud. Jolly Green. This is Earthbound Grand Prix Part 2, and this is not really spoilers. I was going to say it's minor spoilers, and I'm like, you know what? Minor spoilers basically means no spoil. It's not spoilers. This is just the dinner scene. It's like a little more exposition, character stuff. But there's a good line in it where, because Julie is still learning about the rings, and she's finding out that the rings are how you get out, and she doesn't have one. So she asks the robot, who's he's at the airport with the sign waiting for him when they arrive, kind of thing. So he's their liaison and kind of tour guide, and he's kind of a cute little robot named Xerox. And she goes, once she finds out what the rings are for, she's like, does that mean I'm going to die here? And he goes, yes. And then the guy next to her goes, don't worry, my friend got trapped in the Grand Prix for 2 cycles once, and he eventually managed to procure a ring and make his way out. Blah, blah, blah. So there is still sort of hope, but she's kind of screwed because she entered without a ring. CG demands Narwhal, Rini, Andy, Billy weekly show. That could be cool. Who is Cecil? Hi, Cecil. How have you been? Who is Cecil? Just so confused all the time. 12 people watching. How's it going? I think this might be a rant. I don't think anyone's streaming. It's kind of a weird time. Whatever though. I've been working out a little bit and I've been chugging 2 raw eggs every morning. And I kind of like it. It gives me an adrenaline rush because it's so gross. You have to pump yourself up. And it's not that gross. It's not so gross you can't do it, but it's just a little gross. So you get a little adrenaline rush at how gross it is. And that I think helps like pump you up for the day. Just a little adrenaline from doing something gross in the morning. That's part of the new narwhal regiment. But I have like the slightest taste of raw egg in my mouth now. And I've been chugging coffee to try and make it go away. I'm like, shit, did I eat one of those cheap eggs? One of those not farm fresh eggs and they have like more weird shit in them or something? Who is Cecil? I told my girlfriend. She drew her eyebrows too high. She seemed surprised. I don't know the new lore with Cecil. I know supposedly he has a girlfriend. Maybe she's a young, what do you call it? A young buck, the female equivalent of a young buck. Val says, I do 200 squats every morning. Very good for adrenaline, testosterone, and fitness. Yeah, nice. Yeah, you know, when I see Christian Bale as Batman and as American Psycho, so him at his most fit, it's very inspiring and it's cool. It was a Batman one, I think, where he does a thing where he just falls forward and then catches himself and starts doing push-ups. And I'm like, that is like very impressive and fun. Like, I wish I could do that. It would hurt my hands. I would break my wrists or whatever. But if you get like a freaking monkey, like a chimpanzee, then you can do whatever you want. If you get jacked. Who is Cecil says, she 25-year-old lady. Okay, now enough distraction. So I guess I'll drag this freaking script over here so you guys can see it too. So the next thing I got to do, they're all kind of talking. Like she's like, can I get one of those? Referring to the ring. Xerox, the robot, says, your ward only has one ring currently. Amelia is in possession of it. She's the one doing the fighting. They look across the table at Amelia. Does that mean I'm going to die here? Yes. A fighter eating next to Julia leans over. He's Peter. Don't worry. A friend of mine got stuck here 2 whole cycles once. He managed to procure a ring eventually and made his way out. Thanks. That's him here. Or this is him here. I changed it to this is him here because I drew them where they're sitting close together. And that's going to be kind of a funny drawing. Like they're buddies. And then so that's just, I don't know. Then she, I would imagine she would think like, wait a minute. You just said that he escaped, but he's here. And so she goes, he came back. And then Peter says, it's like I said, it's not so bad. Some people even prefer it. So, and then there's a subplot under the table, a girl sneaking around the table underneath that nobody knows about. There's someone with a toe ring, and the girl might steal it. When she's about to steal it, they cross their feet. And then Peter says, some of these people are just permanent residents of Temple 1 by choice. They don't want a ring. They don't usually fight, but even if they did, she's like, so they just hang out and take up space, huh? Yep, but you don't have to shake the board to give your place in the game meaning. So what do you know about your partner, the Princess Amelia? Nothing. She has a suicide fetish, I think. She's top seeded. What? Yeah, they expect her to win. No way. It's true. They look at Amelia again. Then it cuts to the Nantucket. A quick scene. That could be good if it's on the same page. My new page starts... that's him there. I actually don't know. It's like I said, some people even prefer it. Yeah, so my page ends. So shoot, where is it? Some people even prefer it. Yeah, some people even prefer it. And then this is the new page. Some of these people are just permanent residents of Temple One. So you can imagine this is like, the script says we're watching the girl, but I just showed the girl. So we won't show her. We'll show the table probably, but we won't show Peter saying this. It's not like you draw Peter with his mouth open. This is what he's saying. You would show like the people of the whole table. Like a tracking, the equivalent of a tracking shot. So I read some of the script. Now I have to drag it to the other window because I need to look back and forth. So now I can't see the window in the chat for a second, and I'll check in with you guys in a second. But some of these people are just permanent residents of Temple One. So it's her, the girl, dodging the foot. I don't know what. I've already drawn a lot of wide shots of the entire table of everyone eating. One way to draw, I think. Maybe if we go like a longer angle. And a little bit profile. Munch, munch, munch. Can I foreshadow some other stuff that's going to happen? Some other stuff that's in the script. Have it happen here. I actually need Blogart as one of the next people to cut into. Blogart's right next to the rat guy. Yeah, and I got to think about something because I drew it earlier. Blogart's across from the alien girl that he's kind of flirting with. I drew it where he's sitting next to her. And I want her to kind of play footsie with him. Yeah, I think because in the script I say that she sits across from him and she sticks her foot in his crotch, and that's like while the little girl has to dodge it. And then she's like, "What the hell is going on here?" But then I'm like, shit, I have to redraw to reposition her. But then the table, I actually drew the table kind of wide, so I don't think the lady's foot would fit. So then it's like, what's some under table? It could almost be better if it's less blatantly sexual, maybe. It could just be like literal footsie, like she's next to her and she's like curls her leg kind of around his, and he's like, "Oh." Or she could like cup his crotch, which would be hilarious too, actually. I guess I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But part of what I'm trying to do is have tons of stuff going on. So, like, no matter where you cut on this dinner, interesting things are happening. Whether it's, and you could almost make a list of like, what are interesting things that could happen at a dinner? Shit under the table, messy shit. Those are a couple things that I'm definitely doing. The rat guy is eating really messily, and he's sitting right next to Blogart. So this could be him munch, whatever. Kind of cartoony. I don't know. He'd be looking up more. See, now this is scribbles though. When I look at this later, I'll be like, what the hell is that? So I have to be like, oops. Rat guy eating messy. And now it'd be I mentioned this right at the beginning of the stream when people hadn't popped in yet, but if I read a comic that was all thumbnails, but it was just a little more legible, but like even like this was like more legible, and this is all still kind of scribbles and just enough so you could barely follow the story, but you could follow it relatively clearly, and it still had a cool story. That's like an interesting thought experiment about comics and what comics can be. It makes it a little more psychological, which is kind of better anyway. So more because some people say comics are a visual medium. And it's like, yes, but they're a psychological medium. That's where their super strength is if you're creating thoughts in the reader as they're reading. Same with movies. So thinking of it visual is almost like not the right approach. But it's funny, yeah. So if you take that to its extreme, then you're like, it's what's not a novel, because that would just be words. So you're adding pictures. But if the pictures are so scribbly that they need like a codec to translate them, and that's like kind of part of what the words help with, that would be like oddly a good comic. And I know that because I randomly read one comic that was just thumbnails about 6 months ago. My buddy sent it to me, and I was like, damn, that was one of the best comic reading experiences I've ever had in my life, just reading that thumbnail. And part of that was because that was a great story. Okay, so Blogart. I think I will keep them so the girl's right next to Blogart. It's a little, I'm like, shit, does that count as plot convenience? That because I hate plot convenience. So it's like, oh, so easy for him to kind of hook up and get a good connection going with the alien girl because he happens to be sitting next to her at the table. It's way more funny if, no, against all odds, they were sitting kitty corner from each other at the table, but still she stretched her legs so far to touch his crotch that it was fate from that point, or beyond fate. It was like ordained from their own battle against fate. Which is hilarious. And the drawing, picturing like a leg coming straight across and the girl having to dodge it is hilarious. And then looking where it's going and it's just going to Blogart's crotch. That's so funny. Okay, frick. A little bit of redrawing I might have to do. So I'll say big note. Note, alien girl reposition at table. One other funny thing is the alien girl, she's kind of random. She's been living there, and she's flirting with Blogart. Blogart hooks up with her. And I was like, shit, I like the alien girl kind of. And then it does later on, there's like a big event that kind of starts all the super craziness. And I kind of quit keeping track of the alien girl after that point because I have lots of characters and she was just another one, and she's honestly not that important to the story. There are tons of characters that are important and she's just not one of them. So but then I went back, I was like, I do want to know what happened to her. And so I kind of had to think on the fly of a way for her to kind of escape before the crazy shit happens, and kind of just do it hopefully with like a little bit of dialogue or whatever. So that's one of the scenes got rewritten that's not in the script, and it gives her some better dialogue, where she reveals that she does have a ring and has had one, but people don't think she does because everyone thinks that if you have a ring, you would immediately leave. But she's one of the ones who doesn't want to leave. She likes it there, but she still has her ring. So that does kind of solve like that she escapes when the time comes. In Grand Prix, there are like the rat guy gets his little plot. The alien girl gets her little plot. There's several. And I was just thinking, Oh, I guess that gets a little bit into spoiler stuff, but the fate of some of the robots is not fully addressed. I still might have to address that. Figure it out. Okay. Rat guy eating messy. And then the dialogue here, he goes, oh, and this is like servants. We'll have like mostly servants and like guests, some guest eatings, a second table. I'm going to write all that down. Servants, second table. And then he's saying, Peter, if I write too fast, I won't be able to read it later. Peter, some of these people, ... Okay. And then probably just a functional double shot. I try to reuse camera angles sometimes. I do it kind of like you would in a movie. So if it's, I need to do the line. Julia says, "So they just hang out and take up space, huh?" And Peter says, "Yep, but you don't have to shake the board to give your place in the game meaning. So what do you know about your partner, Princess Amelia?" So what do you know about your Princess Amelia? I might move that to the next panel. But Julia and Peter would both talk on the same panel. So we would want, and it's funny. So you could break the 180-degree rule, and then it would put Julia here and Peter here, and she speaks first and then he speaks, which is great for comics. But then you're looking behind them. And what I've been doing is from the table, you're looking out always. So that would put Peter here, Julia here, and then she speaks and then he speaks, which is like, I don't know. Yeah, then it just goes like this, the word bubble, which is okay. And I think I prefer that rather than breaking the 180-degree rule. I don't know if I want to draw them from behind anyway. Although, if I think about it, at the table, I have the map of the layout, and Julia, if we were behind them, so if it's her, Peter, it would be at a slight angle. So it's kind of hard to describe. Peter, Cannon Bridge. So if this is Julia from behind, this is Peter, that would be Amelia there. Then we can get it all, and it's in the right it's in the right order of her speaking. So I think I maybe will do that, because they do say that about comics, is the 180-degree rule doesn't matter quite as much. All the 180-degree rule is for, it's the line that the two characters make. So if you cross it, then they switch places in the frame. Then that gets kind of confusing to the reader. And it does, like, it is a little more confusing in comics too if you do that. But especially, I guess, if you do panel to panel to panel, because this is a new page, and this page is all voiceover, like, off screen. They're talking. So she says, so they just blah, 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 blah. Yep. And then this is kind of a Kelsey Shannon trick. I've set it up so Amelia would be small in this frame. Then I can just make her bigger. That is great for comic storytelling, because the association is completely there for the reader, all the reference. So you don't lose your bearings at all if you zoom in kind of just right to the middle of the previous frame, making it bigger. That changes the perspective too. Like, so if this is a wide shot, wide angle, then this is a long shot, long angle. Long angles will give a feeling of voyeurism and it'll give a feeling of like a point of view kind of thing. Whereas wide angles feel more like, just like a floating, omniscient, like disappearing invisible force watching the events kind of thing. And the difference between wide angle and long angle is like oddly sort of complicated. I mention it a fair amount on streams, but I recommend anyone look into that on their own if they're trying to get into comic storytelling. It's funny, like it does. You'd think like, oh, maybe it just applies to photography or movies. It's super duper applies to comics too, and it's pretty jarring or whatever. Like, okay, so, and I'm kind of just in general, I'll break the page in thirds and then go down and just see how many panels it is. And then I can change that if I need to when I get to the end. Because so far, all the panels are good. All the storytelling's good. Iterated a couple times on some of this, but I still have the bottom third, which there's some lines of dialogue, and I got to decide where I want to get to. So if he asks about Amelia, then it's zooming on Amelia, and then again, we're just doing voiceover. Like, we're not showing the characters talk. We're just showing what they're talking about. And Julia says, nothing. She has a suicide fetish. And then Peter goes, she's top seated. And as for what, this is Amelia. She could be doing something there. You could even add to the story if she has her own little plot. But I think her only little plot is that she got sat next to the sumo wrestler and she's getting grossed out by him. So honestly, maybe I will draw that. That is funny. He's just like edging her. She's like constantly annoyed by him because he's manspreading. I thought of a random thing. I'm gonna check with the chat and tell you guys something. 1 second here. 14 people watching. What's up? Click the like. Val says, what's the function of foreshadowing? Foreshadowing, there's like pros and cons in some ways, but and depending on how broad you get at the definition, it's like everything is foreshadowing. But what's his name? Brandon Sanderson. He has a cool way that he kind of puts it, and he calls it the promise. And he says all stories should start with a promise. And you're kind of promising what's going to come at any point. And you can subvert that or twist it or whatever. But a lot of the promise, it's kind of a form of teasing too. And it's funny, YouTubers do this. YouTubers will start their video and they know the best part and they say, stay to the end to see like some boobies or whatever. And then that's their promise, and they try and get you to stick around. And stories do that too. And there's cheap, not exactly cheap, but there's like tricks you can do. Like you could show the ending first, but not finish it. So like, it's like two guys about to square off. Battle of good and evil, angel and devil, about to fight the clash of the century. Boom, 100 years earlier, little baby. And we're following the baby then. And you're like, oh, okay. I guess I got to watch to see what happens with the angel and the devil fighting. 18 people watching. Yo, Narwhal, can I be a mod next time when I'm at home? You're streaming. I can post the links. Yes. But we'll just do it next stream, I think, Val, if you don't mind, because I don't have it on YouTube right now. I don't have the YouTube video open. I have to have that open to make mods. I'm just going through StreamYard right now. Bipto, what the hell are you drawing? Looks like Smiller foot drawings. See, it's Captain Bipto. It's what you make of it. It's, what is it called? It's impressionistic. What's up? People saying hi. Red Sands, you want to hint at what's to come so readers can say, yo, that was in issue 1. Yeah, that could be like setup payoff is another way to kind of put that. And then the flip side to all that I kind of like is, but it's in some ways it's like harder to do even, but yeah, I do like when, if there's like no foreshadowing, no setup payoff, but then the audience they'd be like, I had no idea that was coming and there was no hints of it, but it makes perfect sense in hindsight. And that's a little rare. Like one of the things where that works is it has to work within the real world kind of story where we already know we bring inherent information to the story from our own like world and lived experience or whatever. And then that is the setup. So the story doesn't address that, but then it makes perfect sense. Like what would even be an example of that? Like a super kind of stupid example might be like, if you jump into a cage with a lion, the lion might eat you, so don't do it. And then so if it was a story, you could do the setup of like you set up, it's dangerous to jump into the cage. That animal is dangerous to this species. They sometimes hunt them and eat them. So they wouldn't want to do that. Blah, blah, blah. You have all the setup, blah, blah, blah. And then you have the guy. Then he does it. And then the audience is like, oh, shit, he did it. Let's see what happens. It's going to be crazy. Blah, blah, blah. And then that's like setup payoff. But because we already know that, in the real world, you don't need the setup payoff. So if a guy just like starts to crawl into the cage, we'd be like, what the fuck is he doing, that freaking idiot? And then he gets ripped to shreds. We're like, he fucking asked for it, that stupid piece of shit. Whatever. And then the only thing there is you might need a setup for why he would climb in the cage. But even that, I wonder, you could, if you want it to make sense without any setup, if he's clearly on drugs, as you meet him, his eyes and stuff, he's wigging and he's got like lines under his eyes and he's like kind of crackhead, homelessy looking guy. And if he's mumbling to himself that he has to complete the prophecy as he's climbing the fence to get into the tigers, that would be like, you'd be like watching that being like, all right, I need to see what's going to happen. What's going on here? I mean, I know. But I was going to say there's a subgenre of story or type of story that you could categorize, and it would be called the every angle story. And the every angle story, I was like, Earthbound's a little bit like this. It's like once you introduce the magic system or like the hook or whatever. So with Earthbound, it's the R types where they're guns that if you shoot someone, they join your team basically. And that the every angle idea about that is like you'd almost sit down and make a bullet list of like, all right, what are the fun things that could happen with this power? And you want to hit all of those in one story. You want to explore it fully because that's kind of part of the fun. And if one aspect isn't explored, the reader might not like that. And there's a surprising amount of like that kind of stories out there. And I was actually thinking, I've never seen Barbie, but Barbie might have been that kind of movie. They call it an every angle story because Barbie does represent viewpoints from, it's not all just feminists. Yeah, so if it's powers, you're exploring it. I don't know, concepts, characters. Michael Deshea. Some people talk about symbolic visual foreshadowing, like the opening to the entrance suggests a big eye, and an eye is a later plot point. You can do subliminal. Oh, subliminal is fun though. That is fun if it's more, I think it's like more for like second reading, nobody would get it on the first reading. But then if they read it a second time and it's there, then that would be like people would start to be like, oh, this is like one of my favorite books, because it gets really fun to like decode. I think David Lynch is like that, obviously, and some others. Paul Glib, no more Barbie. EVS killed it. It's almost, it is kind of done. But I'm like, when it's so far done, maybe it's good again. No, it's not. By the way, Gnarl, where's the music from the Grand Prix trailer from? It's just on, it was like a free track on YouTube. You know, I forget what it's called, unfortunately. How do you do subliminal aside for reverse space? Is reverse space, are you talking about negative space? Or however EVS calls it? I don't know. There's a good YouTube channel that's all about subliminal stuff. It's for movies, but it probably applies to comics. Shoot, what's it called though? I can't think of it right now. It's not much use to you guys if I can't think of what. It's actually, if you search like subliminal alien, like that's like Alien, for example, is packed with subliminal imagery. It's all about like, I don't know, like phallic penetration, danger kind of stuff. That's like everywhere in Alien. So once you get like the theme or the motif, you can reinforce it with the visuals. It can all kind of work together. The negative space would mostly just be like the framing, and that could affect the subliminal. But that's a little bit just like, is it a wide or a medium or a close shot? $20 people watching. Cool. I'm gonna grab a little more coffee, come back, finish this page, and then try and get to page 4 on the stream. I think do at least 2 thumbnailed. Look at these scribbles. All right, I'll be right back. I went to get coffee and one more bot entered the chat. Say hi in chat to prove you're not a bot. 21 people watching. I'm skeptical of that number. 10 of you are real, I bet. Val's real, Danky's real, Richie's real. It's okay. Some people can't type if they're lurking or whatever, driving, etc. Okay, so let me see where I left it. So they're talking about Amelia. They go, she's top seeded. And then the script, I can drag it over. We'll look at it together real fast. She's top seeded. This comes as a surprise to Julia. What? Yeah, they expect her to win. No way. Xerox says it's true. They look at Amelia again. I don't know about that. Maybe. Then the Nantucket, this might be the next page, but a small ship appears out of light or warp space, whatever. The psychic enters. She is Trinova. Take me to the child. Then we're back on Blogart. He's eating nearby. The rat guy's being messy. He tries to talk to Wiz Kid. Too bad Julia's pissed at you, Wiz. The girl. Oh, yeah. So the new plot with the girl is that some food falls under the table, so she's just going to eat it. Yes. It's nothing like top seeded. What? She's top seeded. So for what? That would be kind of a good one to cut back to Julia to just see. Could even be a one shot, like just on Julia. But I do kind of, usually I do, if it's like a conversation, I've kind of drifted towards always doing 2 shots and getting 2 lines of dialogue out in 1 shot, because otherwise it's like just too many panels, whatever. So we could do, this is what we need. We could do that in 2 panels easy. And then just thinking a little bit about the transition, because we kind of want a punctuation here because we're switching to the Nantucket. Sometimes I like doing that on the same page, because I don't always like changing like the page turn and then the scene changes. I don't always like that. I like changing the scene on the same page as much as possible, because oddly enough, that sort of makes the pacing faster. But that's going to happen on the next page anyway, because there's no way this is just 1 page. Then we cut back to Blogart. But we could hint at this, but that might be, do we hint at this right at the end of the page? But that might not be giving it its due, because it kind of almost deserves. Oh, the thing I'll do too is I might make it's true overlap with this on the next page. No way. It's true. Boom, comes out. Take me to the child. Then on Blogart. Well, let's look at the. Oh, I have to drag it back so I can see it. So now I can't see the chat. 1 second. I'm looking at the script. So we go. This page too, we're kind of doing. Yeah, we're doing it like. Actually. What is this? Julia. I want Julia, Peter on that side. Julia, Peter. We're behind. I'm confused about how I can shoot this. I'm behind them no matter what. If I want to stay with this camera angle, not passing the 180 degree. So Julia. I don't know. That's it. Maybe I will just pass the 180 degree angle. I don't know. Let me have a sip of coffee. Julia. She goes, what? Yeah, they expect her to win. No way. Xerox says, it's true. This could be the Nantucket, like outer space. If I have. Julia Cannon Bridge. I don't know. Maybe I will just break the freaking 180 degree rule. So then if we just do it like even like Cannon Bridge, Julia, Xerox, Julia, or not Cannon Bridge, Peter. She goes, what? Yeah, no way. And then he might say, yep, dot, 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 dot. It's true. And then we have some like an out of warp spaceship. So this is the thing, like if I, so we're, this is super jarring. Or you can move it to the next page. You could show Amelia, move this to the next page. But having it on this page, it's kind of hard to explain. It's a little bit more discombobulating. It's way more fast. It's just faster paced, which I think that's what I want to do. This whole dinner is like, it's the idea of no matter where you're looking, some interesting shit's happening. Lots of little mini plots. So this would definitely want to get explained on the next page, but maybe even a narration box saying, actually, I need to show the Nantucket, the light. I don't know if I show that, whatever. Light and the new shuttle. Sometimes these decisions get hard sometimes because it's like 50-50. It's like either way would work. So then you're like, well, which way then? Like, I don't know. Either way would work. Like, yeah, but which one's better? Sometimes when that happens, I have to sleep on it. But I'll keep going for a second here. Volume needs turning up normal. I wonder if I can do that 1 second. Does that? I don't know if that did anything. I have the auto level on. It's like this is the mic. I have to talk close to it, then it sounds good. Beep, boop. Hyperluxia. That even looks like a robot, that drawing. Joe Anon, I'm authentic. See, people come out of the shadows if you call them out. Thanks for saying hi, people who are lurking. It was me. Was Alien or The Thing a stolen concept? The Thing is a remake, and I think it might be based on like a novel or something even. So I don't know if that counts. Alien was based on a script by, what's his name? He's like kind of a cool dude. He has his own lore. He's a buddy of John Carpenter's, which connects The Thing. And he did Cecil's favorite movie, which is the zombie one with the chick dancing on the grave. It's not Night of the Living Dead. It's something else. Some other like dead. Return of the Living Dead, I think it's called. It's the guy who wrote and directed that movie. He wrote the first Alien script, and it eventually got bought by, oh man, I'm bad at thinking of names right now. It's another famous director who's awesome, who directed The Warriors and 48 Hours. and stuff. And that director, it had the chest burst scene, and he bought it just because of that scene, but he didn't like anything else about it. And so he rewrote it, made it super realistic, but kept the chest burst scene. And then they got Ridley Scott aboard at some point, and then I think Ridley Scott brought on the artist who's famous, and from that point it was kind of like everything, the perfect storm kind of. Now that you mentioned it, I want to rewatch that movie because it is kind of perfect and fun. Dan O'Bannon, Alien. Star Beast is what it was called. Yeah, and O'Bannon and Carpenter did like a student film that got turned into a feature film called Dark Star that has just a little bit of like an alien-esque plot on it, but it's with a beach ball puppet is like the alien. And that movie is actually amazing. It's like a lot of fun. Dark Star is really, it's like, it's an old cult classic. You got to be in the mood, but I love that movie. And then Walter Hill. People are good. Thanks, chat. And then Geiger. I can't believe I forgot all three names. Oh, it says O'Bannon brought Geiger. Cool. Yeah, O'Bannon's kind of badass. He's a star in Dark Star too. He's like the main character, and he's a funny, kind of cool, good actor. And Return of the Living Dead's great. I wonder what he did after that, if he did anything else. But he has some funny claims to fame. And him and Carpenter had a little bit of a falling out. And I think Carpenter kind of went on to a little bit greater fame. But Carpenter kind of fell off a little bit, unfortunately. He made like some ultimate classics but I still like Vampires and I still like Ghost of Mars. And that gets pretty late. That was like late 90s or whatever. He was still making kind of fun, watchable movies. But I think his budgets got a little lower. That happened to Dario Argento. I was wondering, like, because this is something Tarantino says. He says, like, as filmmakers get older, their movies get worse. And that's why he wants to start early or quit early. And I was like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of examples. Carpenter's like that and Argento's like that. Who are like, they're kind of my two favorites. And I'm like, it happened to them. But one of the things is it's like their budgets. They got shitty budgets and they still made movies. And yeah, they can't be masterpieces at that point when the budgets get lower and lower. And that might be all it is. It's like if you still gave them budgets, they maybe could still make masterpieces. I'm not sure. Thank you, Frankie. Carpenter took a dump. I wonder if it was the fall off with O'Bannon. I think probably not, because that happened way before. I think the fall off with O'Bannon happened like before The Thing, which is Carpenter's masterpiece. Dark Star. I'll try to find it today. It's free on YouTube, and it is amazing. Just talking about it makes me want to watch it. I got a list of like my classics that I always go back to is Dark Star and the original Dawn of the Dead. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a few more, but those two those are two I feel like I could watch and it doesn't really get old. Like I can just watch them. O'Bannon wrote a book on screenwriting. I would read that. I'd be curious to see what he says. And then Carpenter took a dump. I was going to maybe say something about that. I forget though. Carpenter says too, he says he doesn't want to make movies that bad anymore because he worked so hard for so long. I'm like, so he's just like kind of retired. I was like, yeah. But yeah, if you give an old guy a budget, I don't know. He says, I think he died. Boy and His Dog. Malin recommended that. I wonder. I like that movie too. Um, yeah, that's free on YouTube too. The free on YouTube stuff is like kind of fun. Okay, I'm gonna pull up the script. I'm gonna do one more page. So then we got the Nantucket. We got Trinova showing up. And then she's like, take me to the child. And then we go back to Blogart. So let's see. Probably like the top third can be. Now, this is a thing like, I want this to be fast. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, this is like a tough decision of what to do. I maybe should move it to the next page. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Like this would be like a meanwhile kind of thing. But then you don't always say that. It's just implied. Meanwhile. And then I don't know what her design. Maybe she's like that. It's like one of these. You have Orangey and the dog. Jordan and Orangey. They're waiting. This is like the scene of like the entrance of Trinova. You know, you could film it, you could show it or whatever, like kind of like Star Wars reveal of Darth Vader, or like, you know, like the ship lands, it opens, steam billows out. You see the silhouette. She steps through the steam. You see people waiting for her. She steps through the steam and delivers her line, like, take me to the child. But that would take like a page, maybe two. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't want to do that. I just want to do it in like, I do it in one panel if I could, but that'd be so jarring. It'd be confusing. So seeing Orangey and Jordan waiting is actually helping with the not confusion, because that would orient people like, okay, we're back on the Nantucket and they're waiting for the ship that just landed. And then I think just her maybe, oh, you know what I can do? I can do this shot. This is like the ship landing and this is her in silhouette. So we can just do it in 3 shots. And then this is her close up. And she says, take me to the child. But that'll change their angle, but it goes over the shoulder, but they can still be over shoulder. Hope I recognize. And we're back on Blogart. Nom 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 nom. What does the script say about Blogart? I'm pretty happy with that. 3 panels to do this like little aside. A little on both pages, and then we're back to so rat guy splattering on Blogart. The girl. So Blogart, WizKid, Ting. That would be an okay spot to end the page, except I don't know if I can fit all that in 2/3 of a page. Let's see. So, nom nom nom, rat guy, Bogart, nom nom, rat guy, messy, flying food still, Bogart delivers line. Rat guy messy. Make sure I can read that later. Blogart. What does Blogart say? I kind of have to say the first few lines correctly. Too bad, Julia's. I was like, if I get that wrong, I won't be able to match it later. Too bad. And then here's the feet, and like a piece of chicken falls. Maybe the girl is like around watching it too. Girl sees like something. Maybe chicken, yeah. Oh, whatever. Food. So this is under the table. And I'll have Blogart's dialogue continue. He goes, I mean, you did abandon all of us to be slaves. So one thing is like, sometimes if you can have the words that he's saying and it applies to something else, then you can juxtapose them. And then sometimes you're just like, it's just like a movie and you're just cutting away while he's still talking. So he's off camp. They call it off screen. It's different than voiceover. Voiceover would be like, and it could still just be him talking, but if we cut to the Nantucket and he continues his line, then nobody's hearing him in that scene. It's totally voiceover. But off screen, it's kind of similar. It's like we're not seeing him, we're not showing him, but people can still hear him kind of in that scene or whatever. And he goes, I mean, but you can have like, so he says, I mean, you did abandon us all to be slaves. Like that could have a double meaning a little bit. If we're showing this girl, people would be like, is the girl a slave? So there's a little bit of like subtext you can build with that kind of stuff. And that juxtaposition does work pretty good because I'm okay with the audience guessing that or thinking that. But some of this is just happy accidents or like, it's like you just want to be juxtaposing in general, kind of, because that'll just kind of create the flurry. The flurry. Trying to create the flurry. Caleb Reynolds, midday narwhal. Yeah, for me, it's still morning potential. Boy and his dog could almost be in that like classics that I like rewatching. It's anything that I feel like I discovered it accidentally on my own, which is a lot of like YouTube, free on YouTube type stuff, where I'm like, what? I'm just like kind of searching for movies to watch and randomly come upon some super weird movie that ends up being amazing. I feel that way about One-Eyed Jacks, the Western starring Marlon Brando, which in its own right, I feel like that's kind of a classic, but that's another one that's free on YouTube. And there's a movie called Vengeance from 1970. That's a Chinese martial arts movie. Vengeance and One-Eyed Jacks passed an interesting test for movies too, because I was watching them, I threw them on, and I was fulfilling comics. So I'm packing and shipping books with the movie on in the background. And both those movies, those are the only two that's really happened to, kind of, where it was drawing me in more and more, and I was packing less and less. And eventually I was like, screw it, I'm just going to watch the movie. And I quit packing because the movie was so good, I just wanted to watch it. And then I go back and watch it again later, because that experience. But those end up feeling like classics. CG Demands a classic films with Narwhal video series where you tell us the movies and review what you like about them. I like talking about movies. I could try doing that for a not live stream. That's like a big YouTube thing, but I don't know. I'd have to think of what. Actually, I mean, on my channel is a couple videos that are like fully edited about. I talked about Duel for one. I talked about. There's one talking about Batman. There's one talking about The Matrix, and those are all pretty good videos. I recommend people check out. Have you seen Betty Blue? I have not. What is that, Richard? But it'd be fun to do a video like about just Dawn of the Dead. But I don't know how many views it would get. But I could talk a fair amount about that. How much I like that movie. That I was thinking about that one the other day, and I was thinking about it more and more. And I was like, "Damn, son, freaking Romero, George Romero." That was like his prime. So I'm curious how old he was when he wrote that. Do you know a funny story about that too? Is he got invited by Dario Argento to come to live at his Italian villa and for like 3 months or 6 months even, and write Dawn of the Dead. So he did that. He went and lived in Italy and wrote his masterpiece. I wonder how old he was. Yeah, because that was his prime. He was like channeling like from a higher plane of existence for that movie. But one of the things that made me think that, I was like, man, I love that movie. Has like, it's kind of like improv. It's almost like a D&D campaign, but just like so good. But it's like they have to survive the zombie apocalypse. So they get in a helicopter and they start flying. And then they have to stop to refuel and or restock supplies at this mall. And then one guy suggests he's like, we don't know what's out there, and it could be like death, basically. He's like, but this spot, with just a little fixing it up, it's safe and we could stay here for a while. And so that when that idea comes up, it's like an improvisational idea. That's one of the ones that it's one of these sort of like twists that there's no setup. It You didn't see it coming, but it makes perfect sense in hindsight. And it's so like in character. It's so like character based plot where they're just doing whatever they can to survive, whatever's best for them. And so I've always loved that. And I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about it, and I was like, damn, I forgot. But freaking the woman was pregnant, but she wasn't really showing. But there was like a little hint that she might be pregnant. And then the guy who suggested it, he was thinking it would be good to be in a safe spot when she delivers the baby, was his idea. And I did not put that together until just yesterday when I was thinking about the movie. Which kind of just makes it a double layer, like an extra double layer of awesomeness of how like intricate and well thought out the plot is, and how all the characters like mix together perfectly. And dun, dun, dun. Betty Blue, a French movie, French woman going crazy. Donna's my favorite. No, I should try and check out Betty Blue. Is it free on YouTube? There's a few I haven't seen that people kind of suggest. And there's archive.org has a lot of good movies. And I think I checked Holy Mountain. It didn't have Holy Mountain. Maybe some of it might got taken down. Maybe I don't know how that works with archive.org. But they have William Friedkin's Sorcerer, which I've been watching a lot of his movies, and that's one of his supposed masterpieces. But I watched the first 10 minutes and it was awesome, but I just haven't like sat down to really watch it. But I want to see like some of those weird, like Holy Mountain, Sorcerer. I don't know. Maybe some cool samurai movies, some Yakuza movies, Japanese movies. I don't know. All right, I got to finish this. So under the table, it falls. He goes, I mean, blah, blah, blah. Then I mean, you did abandon all of us to be slaves. The girl. WizKid reacts, eat your food, Blogart. We figured you did it to break the charm of the Eponea. She knows that, so why is she so pissed? That's the question. That's funny. That could be its own panel if you want to try and make it a punchline a little bit. Him kind of looking up, looking up into the ether. WizKid being like, Blogart, please shut up. The girl is about to bite the chicken and then ting ting. That could be the first panel of the next page. So I think so. Can we get so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would be good if this is just a 2 panel. So let me see what they say. I got to drag it to the other window real fast. You did abandon all of us to be slaves. Shoot. And then I kind of forget the layout. I think they're not sitting. There's someone in between them. And I forget. Oh, I had it. It was the alien girl, but it's going to be someone different now. I'll swap the alien girl with someone else. So now I got to think who it is. It's, I think maybe Robot Girl. I just had a random robot duck girl with a ponytail. Oops. There. What's going on? Brush. Wrong button. Oh, there it is. Okay. WizKid, Robot Girl, who now she has nothing. I just drew her to be because I don't want all the characters sitting together, so I had to make up some characters. Her plot could be she's an alcoholic. She's just chugging booze or whatever. I don't know. Blogart, WizKid. Please. Oh, he says, eat your food. We figured. And this is like shot reverse shot, which I do like to do. And this is not breaking the 180-degree line, So like this is like WizKid kind of looking down the table towards Blogart. This is Blogart looking down the table towards WizKid. WizKid is always on the left. Blogart's always on the right. You're not breaking the 180-degree rule. They both deliver their lines. So then this is him. That's the question. And then Blogart goes, or WizKid goes, Blogart, please shut up. I could give WizKid a black eye. I don't know if I want to do that for like the whole story or for a little bit. Because he gets kicked by Julia. So that delivers everything. And then that's page 4. I would go 4 of 8 of the batch. I try and do it 8-page batches, just kind of randomly, but this is actually like page, I don't know, 20 or something. 5. Okay, I got 4 more to do. So then now we're gonna start the next like phase though. Is girl's about to bite the chicken, ting ting, and then Bruno starts giving. He goes, contenders big and small, of all shapes, sizes, and demeanors. he starts giving his distinguished guests, welcome to Temple One. You've all heard about it. Very few have been here before. He's got his speech kind of, and he goes on for a fair amount. And there's kind of a fun aspect of that too that happens. Yep. Cool. Well, I'm gonna catch up with the chat, hang out for a second, and then end the stream. It's funny. I went live for an hour and I think I only got 2 pages thumbed, but they turned out good. And it shows you guys the process a little bit. Now I want to get 4 more. That's 8 thumbed. Then I have to pull out the 3D backgrounds for all the pages. I wanted to do that too today and set up the pages, which if I honestly did that all in one day, that would be like the best work day ever. It might take 12 hours, but I got nothing else to do today, but it always that rarely happens that I'm that productive. The violent kind is pretty fun. Let me write some of this down. The violent kind. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. This is some kind of modern art experiment. Gotta go have dinner. Good luck with the layout. Thanks, cool cotton. What's up, holy hand grenades? What's up? Nice photo or whatever. What do they call it? Profile pic. Cool. Yeah, but I'll think about maybe trying to do a video on either Dawn of the Dead or Dark Star, or another one I kind of like that's random is just found it on YouTube, but it's the animated version of Jack and the Beanstalk. It's like an anime movie, but it's a Japanese company trying to do American style. There's a handful of those that kind of flew under the radar that didn't stand the test of time necessarily. Although that one's cool. That one has a thing too where, speaking of like, I don't know, like what were we talking about? Like setups, payoffs, foreshadowing, blah, blah, blah. That one has a scene where Jack has to take the cow to the market and then he ends up coming back with just the beans and it pisses his mom off. So you know that scene's going to happen. And then that is like a very uphill battle to make that entertaining if the audience already knows. They know what it is. They know where it's going. They know what's going to happen. But the movie solves it in a fun way where it just makes it super weird and kind of creepy and just awesome. I don't know. It's great. But it makes it so the guy peddling the beans is like just the weirdest, creepiest, coolest guy. To be creepy and cool at the same time is weird too. But he is. He's like playing like the organ, but it's like a organ in the middle of nowhere. He's like boop, 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 boop. He's got like a weird song, a super deep voice, and he's like, boy, come here. It's actually like kind of super duper awesome. Makes me want to watch that too. Maybe I'll watch some of these movies today. Yep. All right, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. I'll catch everyone later. See you guys.